Are you stuck? How about unhappy? Join Alena Chapman, author, mentor, and life coach for Magical Moments with Alena as she challenges you to get out of the doldrum and start living your life to the fullest. In just 60 minutes, Alena will help you take control of your life and push you to do the things you never thought you'd do. So get ready to take back your power and celebrate life with Magical Moments featuring Alena Chapman.
Welcome to Magical Moments, and I'm your host, Alena Chapman. And as you know, folks, this is all about that ease and that betterment in your life, and that's what you need. All right, I've got a magical nugget that actually came about just because of what I've been seeing with people. You know, all the stuff that's been going on in our world, in our society, in our neighborhood. I don't know about where you live, but I've been seeing a lot of anger, also relief, anger, confusion, not really knowing where to go. You know, a lot of businesses don't know where to go with the pandemic. There's just so many emotions going on. All right. So this magical nugget is for you. And I'm telling you right now, you are beautiful. You are absolutely beautiful. You have perfection inside you. You are perfect in your essence. You are perfect in where you are now in your life. Breathe. Just breathe. Because where you are now, in this time, in this craziness of the world spinning around you, is exactly where you need to be. Relax, breathe. Everything about you is perfect for this time and perfect for yourself. You have everything you need to succeed at anything you want. And that's career, love, even loving yourself. We always think that we always have to strive to be something else. I hear it all the time. All the time. How do I grow into this? How do I do that? Stop. Your journey will bring you wherever, and that growth will happen in the journey. But the more you know that you are perfection in the making. You are what you are supposed to be. You came here in perfection. You have perfection running through you. You have to just tap into it. And how do you do that? By starting to accept yourself. Yes, folks, accept yourself. Accept all the wonderfulness about you, because you have that. In fact, make a list of all the wonderful things about you. It's important for you to realize this. It's so funny. We're so quick to call out our faults, and we call them out as faults. I'm asking you to call out all the wonderful qualities of you and be thankful that you have them. It's so funny because when I was young, I have a little talent, I guess you would call it. And I can look in people's eyes and see their beauty. I can see the essence. I always have. I can see the courage. I can see the poet. I can see the person who is the dancer of life. I can see that. And then when I was younger, I always got blown away when they would act contrary to that beauty that's inside of them. When they put themselves down, or they would get all down, beat themselves up. And yet all I saw was the beauty. I didn't understand that contrast. And then when I got older, I understood. They didn't believe that beauty inside them. They didn't look at the beauty inside them. They concentrated on what others had told them they were. But yet, that perfection is running through them. And that's why I can say with such certainty that you, today, this moment, have that perfection in you. So write down the beautiful things that you do. Write down the beautifulness of you. Write down about that incredible poet in you, that dancer, that person who wants to live the beauty of life. Start to see that no matter what you're going through, it is important for you to realize the essence of you. And from there, then you'll start to see that those so-called faults you want to use so critically against yourself, you'll start to open up to their beauty, because some of them are one of your biggest gifts. It's so important in this time to realize that everything you need is inside you. You just have to tap in. You just have to feel that beauty inside you. And I'm here to tell you, it is alive and well. Have a beautiful day, my friends. Have a beautiful day. And today we have a beautiful guest. You're going to love her. She is a friend, and I love having friends on. Share my friends with you. Sandra Bargman. She is an actress, a singer, and a voiceover artist based in New York City. I love New York City. She's originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I've been there too. She holds a BFA in musical theater and also from Carnegie Mellon University. She's worked all around the world, including New York City to Tokyo, from Times Square Broadway to regional theater, from nightclubs to cabaret. And she was seen in the critically acclaimed Broadway National of Madison Square Garden's production of Cinderella. Ah, she was the evil stepsister, Joy. I love that. You know, when you say there's Cinderella, you think, oh, she's Cinderella. No, she was the evil stepsister. My off-Broadway credentials include streaking. Her off-Broadway credentials include streaking as both Angela, an assistant director, and Jennifer Pierce in Tusk. Oh, wow. And then she's just starred in many, many, many other things. But the other things I know about her is that she is also an incredible person who has the ability to help heal. And she is an incredible person who has incredible insight into how to help people grow within themselves. And that's one of the reasons why I have her on today. So what I would like you to do is welcome Sandra. Hello, Sandra.
Hello.
How are you?
I am doing great on a very snowy day here in New York. And I'm just thrilled to be on here with you.
I know.
Say hello to everyone.
Oh, yes. I know it's snowy here, too. 'Tis the season, you know. But I do love the snow. I do. I love the whiteness. And I looked out into my yard yesterday. I was on the phone and I looked out to my yard and I have this deer family that's growing up in my yard, basically. There's a mom and two kids, and the kids are getting bigger now. And I actually saw her start to teach the kids. She was teaching them how to kind of stick up for themselves. I thought it was extremely interesting to watch.
Yeah, it is great. I've had the exact same family structure here of deer on our property. And because I'm also in New York City, but I have a home in the Catskill Mountains, which is where I am right now.
Fun.
And the families that we have strolling through our land is just gorgeous. And we've got, a mama deer and the two twins just galloping around for over a year now.
Oh, isn't that fun? Me too.
The same thing. Watching mama trying to nudge them and push them and watching them grow and expand.
It is fun. Lovely. And learn their personalities, because they have personalities. Isn't that funny? People don't think animals have personalities. They have total personality. Oh, my gosh. All we have to do
is look at our pets to know that.
Isn't that the truth? Oh, my gosh. All right. So we have a world right now, my dear, that is on edge. We have a little bit of relief, but we have a lot of on edge. People are on, Oh gosh, the things I hear, I just think, just chill, folks, chill. And they're coming from every side. It's unbelievable. And
I would agree with that too.
yeah, it's really interesting. There's relief, but there's a lot of anger. So that to me is on the edge. Now, what do you see going on in the world around you? Because you're in the Northeast. And what do you see? And how do you, because you are very aware of this edge, what are you seeing?
Well, I'm seeing the same thing that you are. I mean, it's no different in the Northeast. People are, they're angry about our government on both sides. They're angry about fear about the future, economically. Our economy is in the worst shape that it's ever been in. They're angry about the pandemic.
Yeah, very angry about the pandemic.
On both sides.
Yeah.
And
I don't blame
I'm in
them.
New York City, and so we don't struggle with people wearing masks in New York City overall, or New York State, period. So I'm not seeing a lot of people push back on that in my specific part of the country. But I have friends who do push back on that, and people are on edge about to vaccinate or not. I mean, there's no aspect of life that doesn't have this edge of yay or nay, or yin and yang, or right or wrong, which is one of my understandings that when we get into my show, one of my understandings about the edge. You can be on the edge, you can really feel on the edge, you can feel like you're right at the precipice, but there's in my opinion, a lot of ways of understanding that edge in our world today.
I've been seeing stuff come out of the woodwork. Yesterday I had a call with someone who is starting a sovereignty, believes totally in a change of the whole world. This person wasn't even in the U.S., but it's the whole world right now. That gives me the tap in that the whole world is on edge, and it's just not the U.S. Yeah, and
my goodness, no, it's full blown. And we're well into it.
We are.
The upheaval.
It's an upheaval. Well, I think it's a glorious time to be alive, actually. It is an upheaval.
It's really exciting.
It is, because you can look at the downside. Everything of stability has been knocked out from under us. That's really what's happened, folks. And that's why you're feeling that way. This pandemic, the government seems fragile, that people can break in, that it can be changed so fast that, everything that we thought was normal has been turned upside down, and we've had it knocked out from under us. Everything we thought was stable, it was not. So,
well, yeah, and there's good and bad in that, of course, because actually what we thought was stable, as it turns out, wasn't.
Right. So guess what? Time for change.
Big change. And as we all know, well, as you and I know, and I'll speak for myself, great change is always preceded by great chaos.
Yes.
As I love to quote an old friend of mine. She goes, "You don't give birth without a lot of blood." Well said, my dear.
Oh my gosh, yes. Gosh, yes. It's true. Great change is from great chaos. But people have to rise into that.
They've got to embrace that.
They've got to embrace that. We can't hold on to something that's not there.
Well, humans are little control freaks.
Oh, yeah. That's a good way to put it.
We just want, this is why when you said that, everything that was secure and normal. No, it was never secure and normal. You just thought it was.
Yeah, it's an illusion.
Your control freak kind of felt like it was, I'm in control of it. No, actually, we're not in control of anything. We're only in control of how we respond to whatever is occurring in our life. And right now, there's a ton of changes in people's immune systems and their parasympathetic systems, everything, their immune system, everything is there's that phrase we love, on edge.
Yeah, everything is on edge. It really is a time for us to start to wake up.
Navigate.
And I see people just cracking. I call it popcorn. I know that's a silly term, but it is. It's popcorn. It's all of a sudden, hi, how are you? And then they pop and they're giving you the finger or something. And that's happening. The people are getting upset for no reason. They're just popping from being calm to popping, then get back to calm. That's popcorn to me. It pops out and it disappears. And I'm seeing it more and more with people. It's like they have this turmoil, this turning inside, and they just are very unsure, and it's building up to a little fire inside. We've got to cool down the fire, because from that fire we act rashly. From that fire we start to attack in ways that we can't come back from. We act in ways that are not ours. Thus, that's why there's so many people that broke into the Capitol who are now saying, I didn't realize what I was doing. I didn't realize, I really didn't know what I was doing. Now, can I believe that? Yes, I can. Is it an excuse? I'm not sure. I think hopefully rational can come in and tell you, hey, but you can be built up and that anger can be fed. And then you just go over the top.
Well, yeah, and you go off the edge.
Right, off the edge, over the top, same thing. Yeah, different terminology, same meaning, yes.
Yeah, I'm going with the edge.
Okay, you go with the edge. I'll try to stay there.
Well, I think that I don't see the burning fire as necessarily the problem. I think that the inability to harness the fire and to use the power and the passion in a productive way, in that really gives one the courage, the powerful, fiery courage of the heart to say the difficult things, not in a combative, warrior, violent way, but in a way that speaks the fiery truth. And Lord knows, we have a lot of things. This is why systems had to break down. We have a lot of inequality. We have a lot of systems.
I agree.
Systems that have been built on completely and utterly.
And we put a Band-Aid over everything.
Inequality.
Yeah.
So, yes, they had to burn down. They had to have, the breakdown, as I like to say, was, somebody came in the house and broke all the furniture. And
heck, they took down the house.
So, right?
Yeah.
So the sense of injustice and the fire of wrong behavior and inequality is it can be harnessed for good. It doesn't. We don't have to, in my opinion, necessarily cool it. We need to focus it in healthful, in ways that genuinely burn through the BS and burn through and get to the truth.
Now, this is an important point, and this is one, Sandra, that I have actually done a lot of thinking on too. And I do understand that because my whole life I've been more of an activist kind of person, and so, but as I started to evolve, I started thinking, they seem so angry. I started to just I've just taken this whole concept into my mind, and I started to think, and all right, so you've got this fire. There's injustice. The wolves have to be saved. That was mine. We've got to save this government's not right. We've got the injustice. We've got this. We've got that. Whatever side you're on, it doesn't matter. But you've got fire. Now, that's good. Fire upsets things. Fire purifies. Fire gets things back to an equal level to start again. Fire is new growth. But in order to get that new growth and to harness, use your word, which is correct, harness that anger, somehow we have to gain, and this is a conversation, okay? I'm just trying to explain my point. So I want to hear your opinion on this. Somehow, okay, good. So I
don't want to interrupt.
Thank you. So we have to gain the higher perspective in order to take that fire and bring it forward in good. I've seen so many people who have this anger, and they take the anger. I actually saw it when I was working for Right Relations. That's where it really hit me, because I'd have these women, and Me Too echoed it when it came out, these women who were so angry about their abuse, and rightly so. I mean, I get it. Would I be? You're darn right I would be. But then you can't just go into that anger and act on the anger, because that's a fire, as you know. You start tossing that fire around, it can be very dangerous, and it can hurt.
Truly.
So we got to get that higher perspective added in somehow, so that they can see, how do I take that and use it for not just revenge, or not just for my point? How do I get a bigger perspective of this? Or I'm not saying that right.
Well,
go ahead.
Yeah. Well, as you know, once you start you start doing this internal work, you hopefully very quickly understand that the internal work has to start with, why am I here? How have I personally, why is this alive in my life right now? And when I do my spiritual counseling, and we'll talk about that, I'm also an interfaith minister, a seminary-trained interfaith minister.
Yes.
When I do my spiritual counseling, I come at it from, what's alive in your life right now? And my show, The Edge of Every Day, was about that too. What's alive in your life, my life? I'll just speak for me. What's alive in my life right now, and why is it there? And what do I have to learn from it? And so this begins to help me understand and work from the standpoint of not being a victim. Now, this is not to say that I wasn't victimized. If we're going to talk about the women of the Me Too movement, rightly so, as you said, I'm not saying that this internal work does not change the fact that they have been victimized. But
right.
From the standpoint of the internal work of, I cannot empower myself to respond effectively if I stay in the mode of being a victim. And that's where I see all this anger right now, is this sense of, well, I didn't realize what was happening when I was breaching the Capitol. I didn't realize.
Yelling, we want to hang.
Playing the victim in that moment.
Yeah.
No, actually, you may really believe that you didn't know that. I don't believe that, but you may really believe that. But this is not going to change, and you're not going to grow out of this situation and this anger if you continue to play the victim.
Yes.
So the work there being, how do I not get burned up by the sense of feeling helpless? That's being a victim. I'm helpless. I'm always helpless. And that's just not true. That's never true, to your point. You opened with that beautiful internal breathing and meditation. You are not the victim. You have a choice. In every moment, you have a choice about how you want to process all of these internal thoughts.
And you touched on something important there. Process. I think, yes, victimhood is always the first feeling. It kind of moves from, it's really, oh my gosh, this really isn't my fault. Because first of all, most of the time when something happens, we look at ourselves and we blame ourselves. Most of the time, if it's big. Then we move into, it's not my fault, it's theirs. And then we move into, and sometimes that's right. Then we move into the victim. It's their fault. I can't do anything. But I'm very hurt, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and those are all valid, but I'm hurt.
Oh, they're very valid. All these steps are very valid. This is a logical steps. And then, because this is the mind, our mind is so incredibly complicated and so incredibly works through things without us even knowing. But then we have in the self-improvement world, we're all every guru in the world has a life. They have lessons. They have things that they have to learn just on the journey, just like anybody else in the world. The thing is, they understand that going from that hurt is a process of healing. It's a healing. And when we heal from it, then we go we own the story. And when you own the story means it happened, but I'm now healed and I can go into a new place because I have a higher perspective of myself, of what I've learned, a higher lesson. Because when you process and heal, you start to get a higher lesson of why I even went through this crap. And then all of a sudden I'm in a place of now I can bring it forward in good energy.
No, I can see the spiral, how I spiraled up. I would never use the word healing because that implies that I was somehow not healed and broken. My word would, for me personally, I would use the word a higher understanding, just a deeper understanding and a higher understanding of the situation and my role in it, and how can I expand my understanding and my acceptance of my part in this, because it's only then that I can see all the elements at play, like the director, like from a show standpoint. If I can expand the role of all of these emotions as characters in my story, then I get to see the whole thing, and then I get to redirect it.
I like this. That's an interesting. We have to take a break. You're listening to Magical Moments. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about a concept that I'm very excited about. So we'll be right back.
Thanks for listening. Your weekend continues with Magical Moments featuring Alena Chapman right now.
Welcome back to Magical Moments for that ease and betterment in your life. And we are talking to Sandra Bargman. And I would love to touch upon, we were talking about the process from going from victimhood to moving forward in a way that is productive, giving, making the world a better place, but doesn't have that, has that courage, but it doesn't have the victimhood of fire. So what
down aspect.
Yeah, exactly. So
burn it all down.
You brought to burn it all down. Yeah, we did that. So now let's talk a little bit, because you brought up a really cool point that I like. And being in the show, and I used to do shows too, so I totally get it. Being that person who sees the whole show and how each person, their journey in that show to the end. Isn't that interesting? That we could play on that all day, because that when we are the ones who are watching that production, be it a movie, be it a show, be it something on Broadway, we are kind of like the angels in heaven watching what's going on down at this earth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if we are like that, we can see where this person is, where they're going, and the choices they make and the choices they decide not to make, and the anger and how it destroys everybody in that show. Do you see what I'm saying?
Of course. But, I like to view it from the standpoint of if we're talking about our own process.
Yes.
We're looking at our own life that way. So we're the director of it. So when we see each of these emotional responses as characters within this play, if we can back out of all of our emotions enough, anger, this overriding, this burning anger that we're talking about, and this sense of victimhood, if we can back out a little of that and stop reacting as a victim and see it as it's only one portion of the story here.
Yeah.
And, I don't have to negate it. I don't have to make myself horrible for feeling like a victim. But if if I'm going to choose to evolve, if I'm going to choose to get the bigger picture, if I'm going to choose to process this and untangle all of this anger, I have to be willing to not say that I'm helpless again. I need to be able to go, okay, I'm going to choose not to be a victim here. That doesn't negate potentially being victimized. It's just about being real with what is. It's being real with what's going on, what's active in your life. And if you can back out enough, if you can breathe enough, get enough sensibility and willingness to work internally to see all of these different emotions and reactions within us, within our story, then we can begin to see how they're all working together and we can redirect it.
Now, you bring up an interesting thing. You bring up a very, now in that process that you're talking about, where I call healing, you call the process, that's good. It doesn't matter. It's the same thing. But in either way, it's looking at, to not play the victim, you suddenly have to look at your part in it.
Yeah.
And we have, that was sort of there, but not totally. That's a big, hard, the ball to swallow.
That's like the number one thing. If you want to get to the core and move forward in life, that's it. That's it, right there. That's the number one thing.
And it's a very, very, very hard pill. However, it can be, but it also cannot be. I mean, you can make it, okay, when we start to accept, and oh gosh, I'm sure I'm going to hear calls on this. When you start, you really do, hey, it takes two to tango. It takes two to tango in anything. It takes two parties. It takes two people. It takes two groups. It takes whatever. And both have a part. And when we call ourselves a victim, I think people have to understand when you really are a victim, you are putting all your power, all your ability to process, all your ability to what I call, not Sandra, heal, all your process to move forward in someone else's hands.
Yes, that's it exactly.
And so then you truly are a victim because you have no power whatsoever.
You have come to the belief that you can do nothing to change your situation.
Ah, that sounds horrid.
Yeah, and that's simply not
It's
true.
not true.
Is this simple work? Of course not. Is this, again, and I say this, does this negate that someone has been, depending on the situation, has been victimized violently? No, it does not. What it says is, I'm going to get crystal clear on what's real here, what has occurred, and how I can choose to move forward.
I learned, because that pill we have to swallow, that, oh my gosh, I could have had a part in this somehow, is there are exercises that help you with that. And there are exercises, I know, was it the Tao? I think it was the Tao, that I learned a meditation when I was in Right Relations, when I was working there. That was I should explain to the listeners. It was a group that we worked through the court system, like when you weren't playing fair in court for parenting or divorce, or you ended up in my class. Isn't that fun? But we were nice. We were all very nice. And I was not the developer of that program, but it was an excellent program. Right Relations was.
Wonderful. Yeah.
But now this is the thing that I think is very interesting. If we, from the Tao, I think there was this wonderful way of doing a meditation, a semi-meditation, where you get very relaxed, but you're not in a total trance. And you work from the incidents, because sometimes there's more than one, and you work backwards. So why was I like a deer in headlights?
Yeah.
Well, because this person had been, or this situation at work, or this, whatever it is, just took me by surprise. Okay, so why did it take me by surprise? And go back and back and back and back. I always find that is one of my most favorite exercises, because it's questioning the mind to go back into history to figure out the why of everybody's reaction. And when I do that, I actually see the full picture. And I think to myself, oh my gosh, it couldn't have gone any other way. It was like dominoes falling and taking turns falling. And of course we were going to end up where it is. All the signs were there. I just didn't see it.
Or I chose not to see it.
Or I chose not to see it, which is the same thing. Yes, it's there. You just
hard pill to take.
Yeah, that's another hard. So I love that exercise because it's a non-invasive way for us to just research the problem and then come to a realization. I'm sure that's one. I would love to give the listeners two. Do you have one that you can offer?
Well, it's the work that I do with my students and clients that I counsel is I use that visual about your life as the show and you're the director. So you've basically just given the Tao exercise is basically what I say. So write all the characters, back out, keep backing out, and finding other characters that are in this story, and how they're contributing. So it's I don't say keep asking why. I say my version is there another character that wants to speak here? That is there a portion of this that wants to come forward and talk? And so it's kind of like shadow work in that sense.
Yeah. I like it.
It's basically the same thing. It's the willingness to keep backing out. And
backing up, yeah.
Acknowledging there's another aspect here. And
understanding the sequence. And I think then that pill isn't so hard to swallow. You can see, and you can look at yourself and say, well, then how come I reacted that way? And that is where you grow.
If you're willing to do the backing out work, and you're willing to get to the point where you can even do this, it isn't a hard pill to swallow. In fact, there's great relief and release in that.
Yeah.
Because then you have genuinely expanded.
Yeah.
You've genuinely grown. And there is relief and
humongous
in realizing I can make other choices now because I have seen the story unfold correctly. And I don't have to feel like a victim. I can see I can make other choices. I can learn from this and begin to make other choices. So
I never have to learn this lesson again.
Hopefully. I wish they were all like that, but oh well.
They do if you learn the higher lesson. And that's the thing. We always say, people who come, and I'm sure you get the same thing, why is this always happening to me? Well, because you haven't learned the lesson. You haven't done the work to see where your growth. It's all about growth. Guys, everything we go through is for our own evolution of our soul. That's really everything that we go through. And when
but I also...
Yeah?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, I was just going to say that there is also an understanding that I try to impart to my clients who may repeat, why am I doing this over and over again? We spiral. We spiral up in our evolution.
Yes.
And we swing around to lessons that can feel a little like we've gone through that already. it's at a higher level, and it's maybe not so heartbreaking in the same way it was when we were lower on the spiral. So it's you just keep letting go of the momentum of those choices. I mean, I like to think of we keep spiraling up, and if you hit a lesson that you thought you got and you've swung back into it, potentially you could be hitting it at a higher level, and the elements are not so devastating. And there were portions of that story that maybe could be revisited and released in a deeper way, kind of like an archetype, a story that you swing through again. So it doesn't mean you're not growing. That's what it may feel like you're kind of revisiting the same thing, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're not growing. I think, but that's big internal work, is realizing where you are in your repetition of that.
And it's after you've realized, I hate to say work because it sounds so heavy. It's really not work, folks. You got to take the steps. You take the steps, and the freeing of everything you've been going through, freeing from it, from a new realization and a new sense of, oh my gosh, I can change things. I have the power to change my life. I can bring forth positiveness in this world, but still make dramatic change. If that's what you want, then that is so well worth everything that you did the introspection on. It doesn't seem like work, Yep. I want to touch on this. Yes, we do. Don't you find, Sandra, as you do the work yourself, that when things do appear, I want to talk about how and why all of a sudden these different lessons do not take as long to get through?
Well, absolutely they don't, because it's the attachment to them, and it's the willingness to let go of the ego's hold on being a victim. I mean,
right.
When we're starting this work, I want to play victim, period. I am righteous in my victimhood. It makes everyone else wrong and me right. And
we've been brought up that way. Do you know that?
We love, we all
look
love
at Snow White. Evil witch eats the apple. Oh, victim, victim, victim. And somebody else has to save her.
Yeah.
Cinderella, same thing. Evil stepmother keeps her in.
Well, I'm all for when somebody calls, their girlfriend princess or they're this princess. I'm like, no, stop that. She's the queen. No. There is no more princess archetype.
No.
We don't need to be saved. Thank you.
No, we don't need to be saved.
Yeah, I mean, we just want to cling to that because it's easy and it feeds our ego. So once we do begin the relinquishing work and we are willing to untease all of the aspects and all of the elements, and to your example, keep backing out with why, and to who are the characters in the story. Once we're willing to begin that work, and we get to a better place with that, and we can start to see this whole how attached we are to that to the way that story goes. I mean, it makes me think of Groundhog's Day. When he's walking by that hole in the ground and he keeps falling in the hole. Just keeps walks by it and falls, trips and falls in the hole. And finally, he learns there's a hole right there. And he,
yep.
And he steps aside, and then soon he's helping other people not fall in that hole. But I think that there are stories that we're attached to that can sometimes come at higher levels just because they they feel familiar.
Well, yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
but we work through them because we've already started the work at a lower level. We see the holes in the ground sooner. So of course, the internal work goes more quickly and more smoothly. And we've come to learn that actually I don't need to be attached to this story. I don't need to be attached to being a victim. My ego doesn't need this. And I have already experienced the thrill of expansion and the thrill of understanding that I can be the steward of my ship. I don't have to feel like I'm a victim to my life and to those around me. So once you have that running through your veins, you're like much quicker to go, uh-oh, I went into the story again. Uh-oh, oh no, I'm playing this again. And you can back out of it much more quickly.
Yeah. I think each time you get a higher lesson out of it too, because you're growing, and I think until you get to a point where you just feel that that is just what is going on now and it's all right. However I want it to be, it will be. And you really do get to a point of where it doesn't affect you. And or if it does, not that it affects you, but that it's funny, you start to get to a point where you're making any kind of change without even trying.
Yeah.
That's what really happens in the end, folks. And it's because you embrace it, because you are it. It's a difference. You're not fighting for it anymore because you just are.
You have set down all the things that have stood in the way of you realizing it's already there.
Yep. And it's in you. And thus we come back to you have perfection in you. You have reached the perfection stage. You have reached the stage where you are tapping into that. You reach the stage where you are at peace and you're thinking, really, all that really exists is love. And how do you move forward in love? How do you create a world around you of love? Well, you have to be it. And that's what you find in the ultimate goal. That's what it is. And it's not even that you strive for it. You just become it.
Well, yeah, I agree. But I also, as the edge for me.
Yeah, let's talk about that edge. Yes.
The embracing of, those portions of ourselves that do cause us consternation, that are very much a part of who we are.
Like your faults, you mean? Or your beliefs?
Like the one and the same. Your faults, your beliefs. I wouldn't call them faults. I would call them.
No, I call them gifts.
But yeah, because the dark. This is where this gets into the edge of the light and the dark and the sides of ourselves. In the spiritual community, everybody wants to talk about light and love and this and that, and it's great and blah 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 blah. But they don't necessarily want to get into the portion of our personalities, the sides of us that we want to not own and the sides of us that we want to push away or that we are not are secretive or like our angry side at, this person who did this and, that once again, that fire, that side of us that we don't believe, and particularly in the spiritual community.
Well, the fire is still there, but it's in a different form. Fire and.
But of course,
yeah.
But in terms of,
can be just as powerful.
About everybody. I'm not just talking about people in the spiritual community.
Right.
Who might be aware of these terms, but for everybody, and the whole notion that the rebellious, the people who have not done internal work necessarily, and are very attached to not the light sides of who they are, but rather the rebellious, angry sides of who they are. And that really runs them.
Yeah.
And
I find that looking...
It doesn't mean that they don't have good sides of them. It means that they have not done this internal work that we've spoken of.
Right.
They do cling to victimhood and the anger that is attending that,
Right.
and the rebelliousness that is attending to that.
Right.
And, and again, it's not shunning that portion of who we are. It's understanding its role in our story.
Right.
And
it's starting to see it as the gifts. It's looking that
seeing it as the gift and as a part of wholeness, as a part of, that we don't have to shun that portion of who we are.
For heaven's sakes, who in the heck made them a fault? I mean, let's get serious here. If you've got gifts of your personality, your drive, your courage, your things that have your leadership, these wonderful things in you that have been labeled a fault just so that you would fit in, just so that you would be easy to have around, just so that you would comply.
This is another great example of what the edge means in my show, The Edge of Every Day. Being on the edge in terms of thought work and creation. If you're in the center of the circle, where everybody is and everybody wants to be, where it's all status quo and everyone knows what everyone's doing, and if you have the courage to go outside to the edge of the circle, that's where the great ideas live, outside the box, outside the status quo. Courage to go out and stand on that edge and contemplate jumping off and going into something brand new and into a higher state of mind, into a better creative idea, into a new physical zone, like a person working out, really striving, who breaks out and goes to the edge and gets into this new rhythm. That's always a powerful way for me to think about the edge.
How can people find out more about the your program, The Edge, your show, and more about you?
It's just my name, www.sandrabargman, no E, BARGMAN.com.
Fabulous.
You can also Google www.sacredstages, but that's that'll lead you right to sandrabargman.com.
Oh,
and just click on award-winning interfaith minister, and it'll
I love it. Thank you, Sandra. It's so awesome to have you on.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. It's fun.
And for everyone out there, like I said, you have perfection, absolute perfection in you. How do you tap into that? And if you're interested, then go to Soul Manifesto. soulmanifesto.com. My dears, that is a fabulous community and so supportive and so loving. I'm just thrilled with the people in that community because we all are growing at the same rate, or some are ahead, but the realizations people are realizing with the Green Terra group, with the 7-Day Reset, are 2 programs that we offer free. And then, of course, you can always get hold of me with anything that you need. And we've got the Inevitable You coming out. I can't find a better way to start to get to your own edge, or right to that point of all that creativity, that feeling of confidence, that feeling of not even worrying about the critical mind anymore, to really start to feel the freedom that you deserve. And you can tap into that incredible perfection already in you. So check out soulmanifesto.com. Also, any comments for Ask Alena or questions, I love them. Send them in. As always, my friends, spirit is love. And the more we break through our lessons, our learning more about ourselves, tapping into that perfection in ourselves, accepting ourselves, loving ourselves, we are in a state of love, and we are filled with spirit. Namaste, my dears. Namaste.
This has been Magical Moments with Alena, featuring Alena Chapman. If you missed an episode, download it now on iTunes, Spotify, TuneIn, CastBox, Deezer, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, or your favorite podcast platform. Learn more online at soulmanifesto.com.
Podcasts by Federated Media.